So what we notice as we get deeper into our own experience.
Can you put the on button on?
How's that? Well, if I knew it was that easy to turn myself on, it saved me a lot of trouble. As we get further into our own experience, this is the thing about this work, is that it's one thing getting it mentally, sitting here and getting all this mentally, which is great, which is necessary, because until we get a certain level of mental clarity, we won't sink into the experience. We'll still go, but what if this is not true? What if I was born with one leg? What if I'm adopted? What about karma? What about, right? So we'll just keep asking questions. So there is a certain amount of mental clarity required before we will actually sink into the resonance of the experience and have that be the truth, no matter what it is, no matter how it's unfolding, that it is the truth for us in that moment. And when we sink into our experience to that level and our experience becomes valid, then we'll know, for example, when we look at our religious upbringing, because we've all had some level of religious upbringing on some level that's come to us, and the nature of religion is it's so powerful that I might not realize it, that even if I'm Jewish, I have been completely impacted by Christianity. Right? It's impacted my archetypal makeup, etc., etc. These are very powerful currents that flow through. And so once we sink into the resonance of our own experience and really take our experience as the truth, then we'll realize the difference between the teachings about something and the teachings of something. Right? For example, there's the teachings about Buddha and there's the teachings of Buddha. And they're very different, right? The teachings about Buddha are telling you what you need to do to accomplish Buddha mentality. You've got to wear an orange robe, you've got to sit in this position, you've got to ching these things together, you've got to work with these beads, you've got to do all this stuff. Those are the teachings about Buddha. They're not the teachings of Buddha, right? It's the same with, you will notice as you go into the resonance of your own experience, that there are the teachings of Jesus, they're the teachings about Jesus. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. So let's get further into this, right? In one place in the teachings or the story of Jesus, where Jesus is called by his mother and he turns around and he says, "Who's my mother? Who is my mother?" Right? Who is my father? And in that moment, it looks like he's completely dissing his family. Right? But he's actually trying to bring to realization something. The thing about this work, the thing about intimacy, is all of us want intimacy so we can have a good relationship. Well, that's romance. Right? That's a different thing to intimacy. Intimacy is about the dismantling of relationship. Because all relationship that we have in the world, and when we really realize this, it's really freeing, but it's quite disturbing too. All relationships that we have in the world, while we have an emotional signature that is not impacted, all relationships that we have in the world are a structure created out of this emotional signature to maintain it. All relationships are a structure created out of that emotional signature to maintain it. And while we maintain the structures of those relationships, we maintain that emotional signature. The moment we impact that emotional signature and start to integrate it, those structures begin to dismantle. They begin to dismantle. And that's kind of scary because we want to change as long as things stay the same. I don't mind changing as long as everything stays the same. Right? That's how we are. That's how the mental body is. So, just initially, what we spoke about this morning was really about how I'm being with myself. Just start there. How am I being with myself when my boss upsets me? And in that work that I'm doing with myself and being with myself without condition, I am going to dismantle the relationship I have been having with that part that I created, that I manufactured out of my emotional signature. I'm going to start dismantling that relationship with that part of myself manufactured out of fear, anger, and grief. I'm going to stop having a relationship with it. We are going to break up. We're going to break up with each other, right? That part of me has to die so that what I am can awaken in this experience, can reawaken into this experience. It's the same with our family, right? Our family, what makes one soul my mother and another soul my father and another soul my brother and another soul my sister, and none of you are that to me? How can I cling to a group of particular beings and say, this is my family, this is my mother and my father and my brother and my sister, and none of you are? Have anything to do with that? Right? And what makes me cling to a certain group of souls and identify with them and hold on to them in that way is the emotional signature. What causes souls to gravitate towards each other and keep generation after generation clinging to each other, being born back to each other? And this life I'm going to be your mother, and then you be my father, and then we'll just keep on going in the same mess, right? The same clinging. It's not love. It's not love that makes us family. If it was love that makes us family, we'd all be family. It's the dysfunctional definition of love that makes a group of people regard themselves as family. There are only dysfunctional families. Right? Nowhere in any religious text will you see it say, and God created the adults. You won't see it. It's just the children. Right? So these structures that we have, that we're born into, once we start impacting our emotional signature, it's going to have an impact on the experience that we have with those that the family into which we are born. And they are there deliberately. They are not there by accident. They're there deliberately. Our family, as I said last night, are all ascended masters. And they are devoted to their task, right? They're ascended masters of button pushing, right? They know how to go to us like no one else can. There's that saying, if you think you're enlightened, go home for Thanksgiving, right? And what that expression points towards is the ineffectuality of spirituality in this world. Because there's many of us that regard ourselves as somehow accomplished in the spiritual, but we can't go home and be with our families because they annoy the hell out of us, right? We can't be at peace with our family, but we can be at peace with another group of people that have as long as they don't have any relation to us, we can be at peace with them. That's really not having a real impact on our life. So the first radiance of this work is that it's going to dismantle the relationship that I'm having with a part of myself that I manufactured because my being wasn't acknowledged in the world. So I made a doer who does things and gets attention and feels safe and does all the things, and that doer gets what I need and want to feel better about being in this world. I'm going to dismantle that relationship. And once I've done that level of work, once I've done the level of work to the point that I know that when I'm upset, that there is no exception to the rule. And really, I've looked for the exception. In my own journey, I've looked for an exception. But there is no exception to the rule that whenever I get upset, I'm remembering something from the past. There is no exception to that rule. It may not be obvious to me in the moment that I'm upset, because in the moment that I'm upset, I'm in an altered state. But whenever I get upset about anything, that is the past entering this moment. And I'm in an altered state, and I'm looking through a perceptual lens that is emotionally imprinted, and I'm not seeing the world as it is. I'm seeing the world from a point of hypnosis. Right? There is an illusion unfolding in front of me, and I'm acting in a deluded way. There is no exception to the rule. But first I have to do the work and gain enough presence to realize that. Once I realize that, then I can go home for Thanksgiving and be useful. Right? And be useful. Because the family is there deliberately. The family is there deliberately. We've seen how here, in the radiance of our experience, we have the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the vibrational. And what the family is a deliberately set up arena of mirrors to show us the condition of these within us. What is the condition of these attributes within us? What is the condition of my way of, how am I relating to my physical experience? How am I relating to the mental? How am I relating to the emotional? How am I relating to the vibrational? Now, I have imaginary relationships that I've made up out of these. Most of us go to God as a reaction to our life, not a response to God. And in that light, we make up a relationship with God. It's not authentic. It's made up and it serves us because, thank God, we have that going for us. But it's not authentic. What we want to do, we're on the journey of having an authentic relationship with the vibrational. It's the same as someone who goes around and goes, I love the Mother Earth. I love them, peace, Gaia. I love it. But they can't be in peace with their mother at home. Right? Because the realization is that these attributes, the mental, emotional, physical, and vibrational within me, the authentic state of those within me, or my relationship to them, the way I'm relating to them, is reflected in my relationship with my family. My family, really, the family is the cross that you have to bear. You have a cross to bear? It's the family, right? And this is it here. The father is the vibrational. The mother is the physical. The sister is the emotional. The brother is the mental. So I may have a relationship with God that's pretty groovy. But that may not be my authentic relationship with God. That may be the relationship that I have manufactured. Right? Because what we're about is authenticity here. Finding out what is authentically going on with us internally. Whatever my relationship with my birth father is, whether my birth father is in this world or not, when I bring up the image of my father, my birth father, or if I was adopted, that father, or if I had a stepfather, that father, whatever that relationship is, when I bring up that resonance and that feeling comes up, that's authentically the feeling I have with the vibrational. That is my authentic relationship with God. That's really what's going on with me and God. That's what's really going on, not what I made up. Because that reflection, that is the mirror of the vibrational for me, is my birth father. Whatever's going on with my mother, however I feel about the physical world, I may tell myself one thing about being in this world. But if I really want to know how I feel about being in this physical world, about being in this body, in this life, on this planet, I bring up the image of my mother. What is the feeling that comes up when I bring up the image of my mother? What is the emotional signature that comes up? That feeling that comes up, that's how I really feel about being in the world of matter. Because mother and matter are the same thing. The very first thing that matters to us in this world is mother. When mother matters, so does everything else. Right? Everything is energy in motion to a child until one thing matters. Once one thing matters, everything does. And the first thing that matters is mother. Right? To what level am I taking responsibility for my healing, for my well-being? To what level am I taking responsibility for what's going on in my heart? To what level have I embraced self-healing, or am I still expecting someone else to fix me, to take that role for me? That I can see through my sister. The sister is the emotional component. And it's very interesting when we go through something like the presence process, how the sister pops up, right? To show us something. And so your sister may phone and tell you about something that's going on, and you'll think that's something that's going on with her and with the other members of the family, but she's trying to tell you something about you. Right? The sister's going to reflect healing, because the sister is about the emotional component. That's why we say sister moon. Right? The moon is part of our emotional component. The brother, to what extent am I accepting my life experience, what is being shown to me in my life experience, as my teaching? Right? Because while I'm not embracing my life experience as my teaching, I'm going to be in conflict with my brother. And I'll be in conflict with my birth brother on some level, but I'll be in conflict with all my brothers. What's the biggest thing going on this planet at the moment? A war between brothers. A war between brothers. Armies are made up of men attacking men. It's a war between brothers. And that war is happening because I do not accept my experience as valid. I do not accept it as valid. I think I'm supposed to be having another experience than the one I'm having. And because I do not accept my experience as valid, yours is not valid either. You will have the one I tell you to have. Because I'm being told to have another one besides the one I'm having. And I'll go to war with you to enforce an experience on you that I think you should be having. That is the causal point of all war on the planet. This relationship here between brother and brother. You don't see armies of women attacking each other. You see armies of men, brother against brother. Because our experience, the only time that I will leave you alone so that you can have your own experience is when I know that my experience is valid. Because when I truly, through experience, know that my experience is valid, it's what I require, then I will know that no matter what religion you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what culture you are, your experience is valid for you too. There's only one God, and it's running the show. And it's dishing out the experiences for everyone according to what they require. And only when I see that in myself can I allow you to have your own experience. There's no reason to be at war with you because I'm no longer at war with myself. Right? So these attributes, our family attributes, are going to reflect for us those relationships within us. Right? And it's not, the thing about these attributes are this. Father is guidance. Father, the vibrational, is about guidance. That's why when I want guidance, I pray for guidance. I'm speaking to the vibrational, right? Inasmuch as I don't embrace my own inner guidance as my truth, my relationship with my birth father is going to be dissonant. There's going to be dissonance there, on some level. Mother is about nurturing. if I'm not able to nurture myself authentically, I won't be in harmony with my birth mother. When I bring up an awareness of my mother and I really feel, I will feel anger, fear, grief, whatever's going on there. There will be a resonance of discomfort because I haven't yet been able to nurture myself. An example I like to give of that is, when I traveled for 9 years doing weird and wonderful things. I was away from South Africa for 9 years and doing just like going all over Mexico and stuff and weird and wonderful stuff. And then I went back to South Africa and my mother invited me over for lunch, right? And so I went over and we sat down, she was eating lunch, and then she asked the question, right? So what have you been doing for the last 9 years, And of course I fell for it, right? And I went on my Reiki, aromatherapy, fire chief in the Native American church, extraction of consciousness from a time-based paradigm, right? I probably went on for about an hour and a half of how important these last 9 years had been. And after I'd finished and kind of didn't have anything more to say, she looked up and said, "So you mean you've been doing nothing for 9 years, really?" And there was a death in that moment for me. It was all over. I died in that moment, right? And so what the universe speaking through my mother was saying, if you think I'm supposed to be impressed by that, I'm not. You're the one supposed to be impressed by that. That was for you, not for me, right? And so from that encounter, I learned what discernment means. One of my definitions of discernment is you never have to lie to your mother. You just don't have to tell her everything. So from that experience, I realized how much I went to others to validate my experience. Unless someone else validated my experience, it wasn't valid. And I realized that when I was upset, the first thing I would do is tell someone, pick up the phone, you know what's happened to me, right? And even when something great happened, you know what's happened to me, right? Blah, blah, blah. Tell me how good I am so that I know that I'm good, right? And I realized I never told myself. I never stopped to tell myself what was going on. I always told other people, good or bad. And that's when I started using the mirror as a healing tool. Because I realized that every day, the one thing I can count on, every day, is that, because we're here really to deal with our stuff, so you can be sure one day, every day, you're going to go into the bathroom. The one thing I can count on is every day, I'm going to go into the bathroom. And in every bathroom, there's always a mirror. Isn't it funny how we always put a mirror in the bathroom? We always have a mirror in the bathroom, right? So I realized I'm always in front of a mirror, but I never really look at the mirror. I do stuff in front of the mirror, but I never really look in the mirror. And what I got was that there's a part of me that when I look into the mirror, it doesn't know that it's me looking back. It just sees another human being there. It doesn't know that it's me, and it's watching how this person behaves around me. And this person never talks to it. This person never really acknowledges it. And it's like thinking, this is really a rude person, right? So I started using the mirror as a tool to start talking to myself, right? Addressing myself. Hey, how are you? I'm pretty good, thanks. Thanks for asking. How's your day been going? You know what? It's been a bit strange. but I'm doing all right. Right? And so I started having a relationship with myself in the mirror and actually addressing myself, which we're told is a sign of insanity. But let me tell you what, it's insane not to. I'll take that if you want. It's probably for me anyway. So actually, we're told it's insane to speak to ourselves. You know, speaking to yourself is the first sign of madness. Well, actually, starting to speak to ourselves is the first step towards sanity. And because I realized from going through the experience of talking to myself that if I don't talk to myself when I'm feeling, if I don't tell myself what's going on, I go to somebody else, right? I go to somebody else. So for example, after I'm done with the presentation, right, and I go back to where I'm staying, I know I'm going to go into the bathroom. Every day you go into the bathroom, and there'll be a mirror, and I'll walk past the mirror and I'll go, "You're the man. You're the man. No, you're not. No, yes, you are. No, it's you, right? No, it's me, it's you, right? That's a great presentation you gave today. Phenomenal stuff. Amazing insight you came up today with that. That's brilliant. Good job. I never quite got that before. Thanks for letting me know about that one." Right? Because if I don't do that, I will expect you to. And I will manifest, unconsciously, I will manifest situation so that you can tell me that. It's the same when I'm having a hard day. Right? When things are challenging, and when we enter this work, we're asking for challenging experiences. We're going to have some very challenging experiences. Going into the emotional body is challenging. So I can walk into the bathroom too and go, "Today is really hard. It's really, really hard. But you know how we always get through this? We'll get through this. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it." Right? Because if I don't do that, then I will look for someone else. Like, "I'm having a really hard day. Can you tell me it's going to be okay?" Right? So the more I take care of that for myself, the less I manifest unconscious drama so that other people do that for me. It's called nurturing. I nurture myself. I hold myself when I'm grieving. I be with myself when I'm angry. I go, "Well, you're really angry today. You're really mad." "Jeepers, you're mad, but that's okay. You obviously deserve to be mad." "Wow, you're mad today. It's okay, I'll be with you through that. I'll hang with you through this, but it's really rough, but I'll hang with you, don't worry about it." Right? If I'm afraid, "Wow, I'm really scared about this. I really feel afraid." "Wow, okay, well, I'll be with you through that, don't worry." And I am there to be that for myself. I am there to nurture myself, right? And in that way, I awaken my relationship with the internal mother, the nurturing element within me, the capacity to emotionally be there for myself. It's the same as embracing my own inner guidance. If I'm continually running to somebody else to ask what to do, and I'm not going to trust what I know, because we're all getting told in every moment, we're getting guidance in every moment. We just invalidate it because our experience has never been valid. So we don't validate our own inner guidance. I must listen to my own guidance. And in as much as I accept my own guidance, my relationship with my birth father comes into harmony. The same with my own healing myself. In as much as I take responsibility for this emotional imprint and be with it and tend to it, my relationship with my sister comes into harmony. It's the same as the teachings of my life experience, that the life I'm living is the teaching given to me through which I evolve. In as much as I embrace it, my life experience is valid, I come into harmony with my brother. And you know what? They won't lie. The family won't lie. They are going to do their job. They're going to do their job. You see, the arrangement is The thing is, if we come into this world to do this work, it's because we're an alchemist. And in a family, there's normally only one or two alchemists. There doesn't need to be more than one or two. Mostly there's just one. And the life of an alchemist is like this. An alchemist is one who's born with very well developed felt perception. They come into this world and they can really feel what's going on. They have a feeling. And so when they're children, they can really feel the impact of things around them. They can feel what everyone's holding in. Everyone's behaving as if everything's okay. Everything's fine. And they can feel it, and they're going, hang on, this is weird. I can feel that they're this way, but they're behaving that way. This doesn't make any sense. These people are really freaky, right? And one of the earliest questions an alchemist may ask is, maybe I'm adopted and no one's told me, because these people are mad, and I don't think they're my family. I don't think they're my family, right? They're kind of alien. They're behaving really strangely. And then what happens is an alchemist will grow up, and as soon as they can, they will run from the family. Right? Leave and go far away from the family. Those people are mad. I want nothing to do with them. Right? I'm going to look for my real family. Right? And then they'll find people doing very weird stuff. Metaphysics, right? Karma, meaning of life, Reiki, aromatherapy, and go, wow, this is cool. This is cool stuff that you're doing. Show me some of this. This is interesting to me, right? This has some meaning to it. And then the alchemist will learn all about that and eventually figure out the whole world. Okay, I figured it out. Now it's time to go home and fix my family, right? So off we go back home, right? Come back, and that's the Thanksgiving dinner that doesn't work out so well, where you announce that you know what's wrong with everybody and just how to fix everybody. And of course, that doesn't go down very well at all, right? And so we leave again with our tail between our legs, like, that didn't work. I don't understand. I thought I had it all figured out. And it's at that point that we can start really operating as alchemists. Because an alchemist's task is to stand in this position, right? And to look out at the family that we're born into. And not even to understand about the vibrational aspect, or the guidance, or the nurturing, or the life lesson, or the self-healing. You don't have to know any of that stuff. All we have to do is gaze at our family and see what is the emotional signature that comes back. What is the emotional signature coming back off my mother? Where do I feel it in my body? Be with it without condition. Allow it to move. What is the emotional signature coming off my father? What's the emotional signature coming off my brother, off my sister? And if we have run to another country, whoa, right? Don't worry, wherever you go, there you are. If you stop anywhere long enough, the family will spring up around you. Their dad will be at work as your boss. Mom will be that woman who's significantly older than you, who might live in the neighborhood or something. You will probably marry them anyway, right? Or if you don't, you will marry your brother and sister and turn them into your mother and father. It's very easy to do, right? It's naturally, it's going to happen. So the family is, the reflection is always going to be, it's just there, it's just that our birth family are the clearest mirrors and the most willing reflections, right? They will do it happily. They will happily show us the emotional signatures. It's their task. They're devoted to their work, right? That is their task. And until we take care of our task, which is to integrate them, they will do that work. And this is the power of this work. When I undertake my part of the task and I integrate those emotional signatures, I release my family members from having to reflect that to me. And in so doing, I awaken my inner father, my inner mother, my inner brother, and my inner sister, because we're all made in the image. We're all made complete. We are each a family within ourselves, complete. We're made complete. We don't need another half. We don't need someone to complete us. We are already complete, right? And the family is there to awaken that aspect of our experience to fullness. And inasmuch as I become my own mother, I release my mother from having to play that role, right? The idea that any woman can be my mother is ridiculous. Yes, they can be my birth mother, give birth to me, nurture me as a child, raise me until I can get onto my own feet and enter the world. But they can't be my mother. Because everything I have here, this tape recorder, this board, this shirt, these socks, these pants, this body was all given to me by the earth. Everything I require to be here, to accomplish what I need to accomplish, is given to me by my mother, the earth. And no woman can fulfill that role. And it is unfair that I expect a woman to fulfill that role for me. That's time to grow up and grow out of that. We just expect a woman to be our mother because we don't want to grow up. Right? So emotionally growing up is realizing who the real mother is. And who the real mother has always been there. It's provided everything that a soul requires to evolve. Everything we require to nurture ourselves through this process. And so once I reestablish that relationship through nurturing myself and developing that relationship within myself, then my mother is released from having to be my mother. It's the same with my father. No father can be God. Right? It's just not going to happen. Even though we call God the Father. But the reason why we call God the Father is because we think it's the farthest thing away from us. But no, right? And in reality, we're all family. The true family, we have to, once we do the work and dismantle this family relationship, we enter our authentic family. We are all family. We are all children of a one God. We already have a father. We already have a mother. We are all brothers and sisters. And entering that family requires dismantling the family that's made out of this emotional structure. What makes us family with specific souls is that we share the same dysfunctional definition of love as they do. That's why the imprint within me, if I took the emotional imprint out of me, and I took the emotional imprint out of my mother, and out of my father, and out of my brother, and out of my sister, and I shuffled them up behind my back, and I said, took them out, there'd only be one in front of me. We share the same emotional imprint. There are slight differences in it, but generally what the emotional imprint related to our family, we share it. And as I impacted within me, I impacted within my family. I impact the aspect of the emotional imprint that keeps me clinging to those beings out of need and want, so that our relationship can become of what's required, not what's needed and wanted. And so when someone says to Jesus, your mother is calling you, and he says, who's my mother? Who's my mother? Right? He's trying to give some indication about this family thing, this idea that certain souls, we bind them to these relationships with us. And only the alchemist can release it. Right? The alchemist's work is to release it. And when I release it in myself, it's released for my family. It's released for my family. It's not only released for my family, it's released in the future. And it's released in the past. It's just released. Right? And that's the next level of the work. That family work has to be completed before we get to the next level of the work, where we work with another. Because if I don't do that family work first, then when I pair up with somebody else, I'll do it on them. Right? When I pair up with someone else, I will turn them into the family stuff that I have to work on. And that work is something else. That work is something else. So let's just take like a 5 to 10 minute break now. Just take a little break out, and we're going to come back and we're going to look at the intimacy work we do with another human being once we've got the family work going. Not too long a break, about 10 minutes.